Hello everyone, here we are. We have a DR30 FJ20 turbo. Just pulled the radiator out, needs some repairs. Decided to take the intake manifold off while I'm there to give it a coat of paint to match the rocker cover. It was originally painted red, as you can see here. Taken plenty of photos, all this vacuum stuff. Pull the injectors out, give them a clean. So what I'm going to do first is we're just going to flip it over and unbolt all these. We've got the fuel lines here. One goes up to the regulator, which is the supply. This other one here comes from the back of the fuel rail. It's a return back to the tank. And then we've just got these vacuum hose here that we'll also take off. We're going to take everything off this manifold and then go and sandblast it and treat it to some nice new paint. As always, I've got a bolt container here, so any of the bolts off this manifold will go into this container only, so as to not get them mixed up with all the other bolts. I think when it goes back together, we will put all new fuel lines. As you can see, someone's put this guy on here and they've made it way too long. I'm surprised it's even getting fuel up to the pressure regulator.
Just keep these together, sorry.
So we're just taking this vacuum line off, so we can see two come down underneath here, and then one goes to, looks like the EGR. All these will be being replaced as well. All these vacuum lines slipped off way too easy. So the car is running rich. I do suspect that it's probably sucking air somewhere. Over there. So now we can flip the manifold over. I think that's from the crankcase ventilation. The PVC from the back of the rocker cover goes in there. Can't remember where that one goes. It's possibly the air bypass, I would say. Alright. So now, when I first purchased this car nearly 12 months ago off my mate, it had been sitting for 15 years, so the injectors weren't working, so we took them over to my work and we put them on the machine. Two of them weren't working at all. We cleaned them and bathed them and got them working. You know, it was good enough to run the car. I've since found out from a injector guy that your bath, ultrasonic bath, should be about 80 degrees in temperature, and bath and clean them for about an hour. So ours was 40 degrees and we only did it for about 20-25 minutes. So now I've got this off, I've got the chance to do it properly, and hopefully we can get all of the injectors not leaking. So I was planning on hopefully sliding the fuel rail hoses off the injectors, so they are a little bit tight, so I'm just going to unscrew the injector retainer screws here, which will release the plates, and then I'll just pull all the injectors out with the fuel rail and get the injectors off the hose. And all these hoses will be replaced anyway. There's a mix and match of hose clamps through here, so what I'll do is I will go through and replace them all with this style. I'll get rid of this style here and I'll replace them all with the EFI, the proper fuel line clamps. Alright guys, I've got all these injectors loose now. Let's give it a wheel and see what happens. Yep, just still got to get this fuel line off here. Nearly got the injectors out. It's just this bloody fuel line. Where are we? Here on the regulator. See if we can't get it off. Sorry for the quality of video on guys, but it's a bit hard with an iPhone. So close. Right, there it is. And there you have it. There's a fuel rail and an injector set from FJ20ET. So the next thing from here will be to get these fuel lines off, and then we'll have our injectors. Alright, so there you have it. We have all our injectors off. There's your injector there. These older style. You have the retainer and your bottom bit, which I believe will slide off like so, and drop the clip off. Now it looks like the clip's going to be part of it. I'll take the bolts out. So if you're just pulling your injectors out of your car and they're going back in, you know, it does pay to number them, so you keep them, they go back into the same cylinder. I'm probably going to number them and put them back in the same cylinder, even though they're going to be ultrasonically cleaned, and that probably not as important, but we'll just make sure they go back in the same one anyway. Back to the manifold. We've only got a few more things to pull off now. So we've got the idle bypass. Let's see air go through. The pressure regulator for the fuel rail that's operated off engine vacuum, and the EGR valve. We'll see how that goes. We'll have to give that a bit of a spray. The exhaust coming back, it's all emissions. For the early 1983s, the Japs were on top of their emissions. So I've noticed here, taking this fuel regulator off, someone's kindly broken a bolt off back in the day. So what we'll do is we'll drill that, we'll get that out, make sure that's all good before it goes off to sandblast. Alright, so we've got a few more bits off there. Just took the EGR off. You know, it's been on there a long time. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the gasket off in one piece. It was a bit baked on, so hopefully can find one. If not, we'll just make one up. Gaskets are pretty easy to make if you know what you're doing. So now we're just going to take off the air bypass, take off this bracket for the accelerator cable, take off these vacuum fittings here, and the bung in the back. So, and also I'm going to pick out these injector seals here. We'll take them out carefully. Hopefully I can just get some, you know, they're a common size, but yeah, we'll try and get them out carefully, because if we've got to reuse them, you know, it's hard to source new parts for this vehicle being so old. A lot of second-hand stuff being bought out of Japan, but we'll see how we go. Alright, just taking this air bypass off. I got one bolt out, got the other bolt loose. It's sort of in a prick of a spot. You can get a spanner on it there, and you can come in from underneath. Taking the other bolt out and loosened it. Let's see if I can give it a tap here and get it to turn a bit on the gasket. Beautiful, so you see that, guys? I wanted to do that so I didn't tear the gasket. So now, I was hoping I could turn it up, but looks like it's hitting there, so we'll just have to battle with this bolt for a couple of minutes.
Alright, looks like the EGR gas route comes back in Somewhere up the front of the manifold. That's good. So that sort of must be distributed evenly among the 4 chambers and not pushing all back into one cylinder. Of course, it won't be hotter than the others.
Alright, there you have it. One strip manifold. Didn't take too long. All ready to go off to be sandblasted. I'm just going to leave that bung in and leave a couple other bungs in it. Dig them seals out shortly. And off we go. So here's the radiator. It's not too bad. The spout's blowing off the back there. Corroded, broken off the overflow bottle. The top inlet pipe has been cut off. It should be 90-degree bend, and I think one of the sides are broken, so we'll have that tank pulled off and repaired. Did think about getting the core replaced. It is a bit damaged in places. It's not leaking. We'll just see. We'll just see. Money will be the factor. We have everything ready now for the sandblasting. Just pulled off. Just cleaned up some of the regulators on the wire brush, some of the hoses. Cleaned up the top pipe. Then we just got the seals out of the injectors there, holes. We're going to take the manifold and the fuel rail and give them a sandblast. Hopefully we'll see you all back for part 2.